Two of our trustees stepped out for a moment. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're going to do a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silent prayer. Stand if you can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You'll remain standing for a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you. At this time, we can have public comments. Each person can speak now, and they can speak on every agenda item as well. Are there any public comments at this time?
My name is Arloa Kaiser. I'm an Ypsilanti resident, and I would like to thank the board members and the community who have helped Auntie Yvonne's free store. I know their last day is the end of February because Peace Neighborhood is taking over, which I would like everyone to watch to see what they do and see if they actually are going to do what they're saying they're going to do for our community. Auntie Yvonne's has actually helped. I don't know how many people go through there, and they're not open. I think they're open 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. But it is free. Everything is free. They have food that is donated that is free, that people can help themselves. Clothes, bedding, dishes, whatever is donated is free. And I have never heard of a store like that before. So if there's anything that anyone can do to help them find a new place because they don't have money to rent a place, I would appreciate it. And thank you for the board members that have supported them also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kaiser. Other public comment?
Good evening. My name is Doug Stout. I've been in the neighborhood for about 10 years. Previous to that, we lived in Ann Arbor, and I want to commend the board for all of their work. I've looked over your agenda items, and I know it's a tedious job and one that is often thankless. And you're forced to make decisions sometimes, like I have on many times in committees, where you knew whatever decision you made is going to make someone a little bit upset. Now, I have to also mention that I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in a couple of you on the board who have not returned any of the emails that I've sent. And I just don't think that's right. Perhaps you get hundreds of thousands of them, but I would think a response would be reasonable. I'm also rather disappointed that there has been no action on the LPRs. And I know this is a subject that has some considerable debate and some strong feelings, but I think we've been at it for just about a year now, and there doesn't appear to be any progress. A month or so ago, I heard that one of the big objections were two things: the security of the system and the suspicion that the police would not be using them in the way that they are intended. Well, those are fairly easily taken care of, I believe. I was referred to Commander Keith Flores, who works under Derek Jackson, who is here for a previous meeting. Derek Jackson, of course, is running for the sheriff in the next election here. And I asked him about this. He said, quote, "Just like everything else at the sheriff's office, we have checks and balances that ensure our staff is compliant with policy, state and federal law. The LPRs would be a policy. It's not like it could easily be changed by someone new coming in to the office. The LPR system will follow distinct guidelines. We also have clearly defined steps in place for corrective action and/or discipline leading up to perhaps termination for folks that are non-compliant with anything that goes on in the sheriff's office." Now, to me, that clearly states that these will be used as intended. These are information that track only a license plate, I remind us, not the identity of the people, and the data kept, in fact, is the other objection that I heard, is that if this information is on the web, then it could be available to anyone, could be to be hacked. I spent 20 years or more in the IT world, and that is absolutely untrue. People are not able to get at things terribly easily. And if they are, they're after data or information that could earn them hundreds of thousands of dollars. No one could make any money out of a license plate that doesn't connect anyone to the identity, address, and other information. So to me, you have clear explanations that should eliminate what I've heard as the primary objection to these readers. And I do have a question, which is simply, where do we stand at this point, and how do we explain why it's taking so long?
Thank you, Mr. Stout. Any other public comments?
Yes, Tyrone Bridges, Township resident. Township resident. Happy New Year to you guys. This is the first time I came to the board meeting for the 2023 year, and I would also like to mention that I would like to work with a few of the township trustees in bringing a good idea to the township, a proposal that was pitched to the commission, the Washtenaw County Commissioners, and it didn't come through. I would like to pitch it to our township trustees. So after the meeting, I would like to have a couple conversations with a few of you trustees. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, we'll go to the agenda. We have the...
Monica Cross Williams, 2150 Chevrolet. Just wanted to say a couple things. I know it's been a while since I've been at a meeting. I'm really excited about Audis again. I think that's going to be a great means for our township to have affordable food and groceries, and I'm excited that it's going on Huron Street because I think it's going to give some other revitalization for the area that is needed. So I just wanted to say that as first. I also wanted to say I think the township, I'm just going to say this much, for always supporting free speech, even if that speech does not agree with, maybe individual positions of the township, but thank you for always supporting free speech because that's needed. I also wanted to say, Trustee Ryan Hunter, welcome to the board. And I know you will, do due diligence by our township, and I look forward to that. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? We're going to go to the agenda. We have the consent agenda, which are the minutes of the January 17th work session and regular meeting with the changes that were submitted. Statements and checks.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rose, support Eldridge to approve the consent agenda. Are there any questions regarding? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Attorney's report?
Madam Chair, I'm going to just give a brief update on the Galt Village situation, or the Galt Village Shopping Center, and then I'll have some other comments on some other agenda items that I'll get to as the board goes through the agenda. But just in regards to Galt Village, the board is aware that that property is under a demolition order. I've been talking with my township attorney, my law partner Dennis McLean today. The experts that have been retained by the township for the court case from SME, they have completed their hazardous materials assessment, and they are going to submit an updated bid package to the 6 demolition contractors that have been willing to submit a bid, that have been highly qualified to do so. And the intent is to have this bid package presented to the court by February 24th. And if it goes as planned, then we anticipate having at least a recommendation brought back to the township board at the March 7th meeting and then for the board to consider that, ask the appropriate questions, and if in fact that qualified bidder is agreeable to the township, then we would proceed forward yet this March. So again, it's taken a little bit more time to get the hazardous materials survey completed because there was more asbestos in some parts of the vacant structure than what was initially thought until they did more of a deeper dive. But at the same time, this has been an eyesore in the community and township proper for decades, it seems like. But we're at that cusp now where I think we're just within a meeting or two of having everything fully vetted and properly done so the board can proceed forward. And come springtime, we hope to see the demolition take place, which I think then will also open up possibilities. It's not our property, but we think once that occurs, that could open up a pathway for redevelopment. So all my other letters I've sent out, I don't think you have any questions on those if you do, but otherwise I'll just save my voice until the rest of the meeting.
Any questions or comments? Doug, would you like us to attend that hearing if we can?
I think you can still attend that by Zoom.
Is it still by Zoom?
Zoom,
Okay.
and I think that's always important to have township presence at these type of hearings, and this has been one you've been following for quite some time yourself, so I think it's at 1:30.
I just want to say, I went by Galt Village Sunday, and everything was boarded up. And I, too, was thinking, okay, the next step is to have this demolished. And once that's demolished, you know, a lot of times people say because of the...
Can you talk at the microphone?
Oh, that because of the freeway location or the location of it, it's not a good business area. But, I think if you build it, they will come. I think that it's still close to a freeway. You can still use the service drive to get to where you want to go. I guess before, there used to be exits and entrances directly to Galt Village. But I honestly believe that once it's demolished and redeveloped, that it could be something very special.
I agree. Any other comments? The next item on the agenda is a request from Men Like Us for approval of a local governing body resolution for a charitable gaming license. We discussed this in the work session, and we were going to table it for more information.
Motion to table the request from Men Like Us for approval of a local governing body resolution.
Motion Rowe.
Support.
Support Eldridge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a request of Lori Thomas to appeal the fees for Freedom of Information Act, which is a FOIA request.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd make a motion to deny the request of Lori Thomas to appeal the fees for Freedom of Information request.
Support Peterson.
We have a motion and support. Is a petitioner here? Yes.
Madam Chair, just for those of you who weren't here, we discussed this at length during the work session. An applicant who paid in full for a FOIA was unhappy with the information that she received, but we charge per labor for the labor of the time it took to gather the information, not for the documents themselves. And the petitioner, from what we gathered from her appeal that she put in writing, was that she was unhappy with the items that were in the documents. So consistent with our FOIA procedures, it would be appropriate to continue on with our the costs that we levied to her, and then within 10 business days after today's meeting, the clerk's office will respond in writing according to our policy.
Thank you. Questions or comment? I'm going to support the recommendation of our clerk. And this is the only second one that I remember in the history of having it. We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is a request to approve the low bid from MEI, which Total Elevator Solutions for repairs to the Civic Center elevator in the amount of $25,627.62, which is budgeted contingent upon the approval of the budget amendment.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge, support Hunter. Discussion? This is just to repair the elevator that's in the Civic Center here. State of Michigan does annual inspections, and for 2 years they haven't done it. They decided that we needed to do this, and we are doing it very quickly. It's safe, but they wanted to make this one repair, and I want to thank Michael Sarin, who's a hydro dam operator in the safety committee, who was able to get 3 quotes on it, and they were very competitive bids and able to get it repaired as quick as possible. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is a request to approve an amendment to the contract with Washtenaw County for police services with a term ending December 31st, 2026.
So move.
Motion Rowe.
I'll support it for discussion purposes. How's that?
Thank you. We have a motion support to discuss the sheriff's contract. This too was discussed at length in the work session, and the biggest change on this is the county is requiring that we apply for a $30,000 grant from the funds from the mental health millage and the public safety millage. Even though it was approved in 2018, this is the first time we've had to do this. The cost has gone up significantly, but it's the past 4 years we had not had any significant increases, but we're very concerned about the change in this financial structure of how we fund the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department from Washtenaw County. So we also discussed researching the actual cost compared to what would it cost to have our own. Not that we want our own right now. We're very happy with the Washtenaw County sheriff deputies that patrol in our community, but I think for this substantial increase, we have done this once before where we actually dug deep into the cost of it and to see about the viability of having our own police department in the future. But right now, what's before us is a contract with the Sheriff's Department that goes until 2026, and it does have a opt-out clause with 6 months' notice.
Hi, Monica Ross Williams, Ypsilanti Township, 2150 Chevrolet. Okay, we pay for a millage for the Washtenaw County Sheriff. Every taxpayer that has property inside of Ypsilanti Township pays a part of that millage to support law enforcement services within Ypsilanti Township. I am utterly confused why it is that our township, on top of paying a millage that's, I don't remember the exact number, but I know it's over $6 million that gets in revenue to the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department. Why are we now why is this township being asked to go get a grant? On top of that, there's a separate millage for mental health that was passed inside this township in 2018. So with a millage for police services and a millage for mental health services that was directly supposed to go to the Sheriff's Department in most cases in order to hire social workers, if I remember it correct, to deal with, crime issues in our community. Has that been done yet? I don't know. I guess that's a question for the Washtenaw County Sheriff, but I don't understand why we are being asked to do this. I think it would need to be explained to the residents in detail, because with the money for police services and the money for the mental health millage, It is for the Washtenaw County Sheriff to manage their budget from this point. I don't think it's a responsibility for Ypsilanti Township to go out and get grants for any entity besides Ypsilanti Township. And that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
My
Sir?
name's John Hollingsworth. I'm a resident of Ypsi, but I'm in Pittsfield Township. As far as the sheriff, I don't understand with the need for them to use mental health funds. I know when the government some years back made some available that they were also in a area where they were misused by other agencies that I didn't think it was appropriate, mainly the sheriff under Jerry Clayton, actually, and I think the appropriate use was sort of laid aside and they were used in some other means, and with this using resources from mental health, with the mental health situation the way it is, I think they need all the funds they can get, and probably then some more. And because mental health is at the basis of a lot of problems we're having right now. With the situation in the economy, things aren't getting better, they're getting a little bit more stressful. I think we need to, especially as far as young people, we need to address their health issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would just add, we, again, talked about this a lot during the work session. For those of you who weren't here, we have a standing meeting that's been going on since I've been clerk and happening long before I was clerk, every Monday, where we talk about critical incidences that happen in the township. And, you know, they're not always fun meetings. Like, we talk about some really hard situations, but they're really important for us to be able to communicate back with our residents. And it's a great, like, space for, or so we thought, was to talk with the sheriff's department and us. Well, this Monday, 4 hours before our scheduled meeting, again, that's been happening since I've been clerk, since I've been on this board, was canceled. And I won't go into my thoughts about that, I guess, but it just adds to the frustration with Sheriff Clayton. He canceled our meeting 4 hours before. He was invited to this meeting tonight. We're the largest contracted municipality, and you have a contract before us. And so to have, you know, to have Sheriff Clayton not here is just disappointing. If any of our other contractors that we work with, if they had, like, you know, a big park improvement, some engineering work, we would expect them to be here in person to talk with us, to answer and clarify our questions. And so again, I'm just very disappointed in the leadership of Sheriff Clayton. I feel so thankful that we have our deputies who work tirelessly day in and day out. We're very thankful for them and their service that they provide to our residents. Absolutely, mental health is certainly a thing that we all feel and is definitely needed. And I think the county sheriff deputies have done a great job trying to incorporate that into their practices. So I hope to continue to see those things happen, but the change in how we're going to receive our dollars that our residents voted for, these are our tax dollars, and we need to receive them. And so to change the practice and how the municipality gets reimbursed for those halfway through a millage just isn't, it just doesn't sit right. And it especially doesn't sit right without a conversation, without the leadership of Sheriff Clayton being here. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
I'm just going to echo those comments because I spoke at length at the work session about my concerns about the millage and that taxpayers are paying for that, and to change it midstream, as Clerk Rowe has said, just doesn't seem reasonable or fair. And then budgeting is about planning and thinking ahead. So to not really get in front of it and to explain what's going on, not only to boards that we're going to have to make this decision, but to residents, seems concerning. And it just doesn't seem right.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So,
Trustee Hunter?
thank you. So I am listening to the wisdom of everyone here at the table, and I concur. I will continue to listen, read, and learn more on this issue. But I will say, with something of such magnitude and importance to our community, it is disappointing that leadership from the sheriff's office is not present tonight, and I would encourage them to be present in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Winters, is it in proper form?
Well, if the board will indulge me for a few moments here, I spent a lot of time talking about the contract before you this evening, which is almost a $7 million contract for 35 officers. It comes with other services besides the individual officers, but at the same time, right now, we only have 30, paying for 35. So the $7 million is probably the largest expenditure this township has from a millage standpoint. And you've all heard the questions we have about a number of issues. But just for a moment, I just want to just share what I think is another contract that has been entered into with the county that does impact the police services contract before you this evening. And this is a contract that the township is not a signatory party to. The sheriff does not appear to be a signatory party to. It's signed by County Administrator Greg Dill, County Clerk Larry Kassenbaum, signed by Corporation Counsel, signed by the executive president of an organization called the Supreme Felons, Billy Cole. And so you may say, well, what is this contract for $1.2 million? What does this have to do with the Sheriff's Department contract before you this evening? It has a lot to do with what this contract has a lot to do with what is going on or could go on in Ypsilanti Township for this reason. Putting aside for the moment how the county decided to award $1.2 million to the Supreme Felons, putting that aside for a moment, the very troubling nature of this contract vis-a-vis this sheriff's contract is that under the Supreme Felons contract, they are going to, quote, establish a regular dispatch and patrol system for 4 neighborhoods in zip codes 48197 and 48198. Let's stop there for a second. Okay, so you're going to establish a regular dispatch and patrol system in 4 neighborhoods. I don't know which neighborhoods those are, but I do know 48197, 48198 is primarily the township. And I would like to find that out as to what exactly the neighborhoods are. Through this system and through other activities, prevent conflicts in the community from escalating into violence. Okay, well, you're just going to be signing onto or approving a contract for $7 million for the Sheriff's Department to, I think, dispatch and patrol the township neighborhoods. I don't recall anybody coming over to the township and requesting or making us aware that the Supreme Felons were going to be establishing a separate dispatch and patrol system for presumably what I have to believe includes part of Ypsilanti Township. I don't recall getting that memo. I did get the letter from the sheriff saying that in regards to the new contract, that the key operative word is transparency. Okay, where's the transparency in regards to us finding out just by happenstance that a separate contract is going to result in a patrol by the Supreme Felons in certain neighborhoods in this township? Now, let me talk about that for a second. Now, we've all heard the word liability be thrown around before, and I have grave concerns about any non-certified law enforcement personnel doing any kind of patrol in a township neighborhood. There's tremendous risk there. I think tremendous liability exposure for that to occur, especially when there is a contract now between the county government and the Supreme Felons to perform this service. So I'm not going to turn a blind eye to this because we're not a signatory to it when it impacts the township. Furthermore, we have neighborhood watch, and the residents in these neighborhoods, they have a right. They have a right to know who is patrolling their neighborhood. And I think the Sheriff's Department personnel that conduct many covert operations in this township, they also would not necessarily feel comfortable knowing there's another dispatch system, patrol system that's going on simultaneously with any kind of covert activity. There's a lot of questions that I was going to ask these questions at yesterday's meeting when it was abruptly canceled. That's why I came over here, because I thought it was brought up at the meeting before that there was going to be questions about this, but it didn't come up yesterday, so I bring it up right now. So the township has a right to know who's patrolling, and this board has the legal responsibility to know the answer to that question as well. You have a right as a board official to know who's out there patrolling. We've had that happen in the past. We've had people try to do citizens arrest out here in the neighborhood. We've had neighborhood watch people try to form their own patrol system that the sheriff and the other sheriff administrations have shut down because why? People can get hurt. They are not trained to do certain things. Now, they may claim they're trained. I don't know. I don't know. If they are trained, then, it's not up to me to sit there and guess what kind of level of training they have, what kind of situations that they're going to be involved with. But the bottom line is right now, this is something that has to be at least discussed. And so, at the end of the day, if you approve this contract with the sheriff for the $7 million, I would at least make it quite clear that it's some kind of a very bold disclaimer that you do not, well, maybe if you do, it's something different. But it would be my recommendation that we make it quite clear to the County Board of Commissioners who signed the contract, through Greg Deal, the county administrator, Larry Kassenbaum, the county clerk, and Michelle Beller, the corporation counsel, that thank you but no thanks. We don't want people that are not law enforcement trained patrolling township neighborhoods. And if they got $1.2 million that they can use for that purpose, then maybe that $1.2 million should have been given to the township to help with this $7 million contract. Or maybe it should be $1.2 million that could go into something more appropriate than that. So that's my comments in regards to the second contract, because you cannot not ignore the second contract in the context of the contract before you this evening. And again, you got liability, no knowledge, no transparency, no communication, have no idea what's going on out there, and I have grave concerns about that.
Thank you, Mr. Winter.
Can I?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add to that.
Yeah, you sure can.
Me personally, I think it's great that brothers are getting together to police their own neighborhoods. For one, we know the children in the neighborhood, we know their parents. So if something goes on within the neighborhood, maybe we can talk to a mother, talk to a brother, or a son to maybe resolve the issue before it gets too big. If you got gentlemen that been through the system, been through it, and came out and trying to make a turn, I would listen to them more so than somebody that's coming up trying to tell me, put my hands behind my back, turn around, get back, or I'm going to tase you, because they're trying to go through protocol. You got to have a little more passionate for people that's in our community, because we there, we're hands on. So if you got, just think, if 5 or 10 more brothers come home from prison and decide to join the Supreme Felons or whoever that's making a better position in their neighborhood, do you know how much of an impact that could be? That could be a great impact. That's role models in the community for other young kids to look up to. Like, man, these guys are making a difference. They're having a Stop the Violence rally coming up on the 18th. We need people in the community that's trying to make a difference so these people can see it. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Board members, I will. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I am sorry. I didn't not want to get back up and speak today, but I just heard what Doug said, so I have to get back up and speak today. I have lived in this community from the time I was born, actually, 1970. I've lived in West Willow since 2020. 2000. I know how deputies used to stop violence in West Willow, and it worked very well for a very long time. Because I was on the new West Willow Neighborhood Association board, and we used community policing, and we worked directly with the deputies in order to stop violence in West Willow. The reason why I'm saying that, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say some disturbing words, so I want to make sure, and it's making me shake because I'm trying not to cry. Because I have questioned the $1.2 million of the police contract, by the person that Mr. Winters talked about, I was called a house nigger and a butt warmer. I stay in this community. I have been a taxpayer in this community. I have been a correction officer in this community of Washtenaw County for 5 years. I understand what returning citizens mean, and I have no problems with returning citizens. But I do have an issue when a contract is given without supervision that could have been available for $1.2 million. There is another organization that's called A Brighter Way that have returning felons that come to, and this is returning citizens that come and work in the community. Why in the world wasn't they given $1.2 million? Or better yet, where was the supervision? I'm sorry. As a person that have paid taxes in this community, I am not, and yes, I feel threatened because I was called those names and some other things that was in that same clip that I won't even mention. But no, please no. And please evaluate this contract because everyone deserves to be safe in this community. True. Our young kids deserve to have mentors in this community. You're darn straight. Well, then here's my question. Why has the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department have not worked on that? Because there's plenty of people in this community that would be more than willing to work to mentor, but that's not what they're trying to do. And that is the problem. And yet, I have yet to get one call from Jerry Clayton apologizing to me about his employee. This email went over to the entire county board, as well as Debbie Dingle. I got a call from Greg Deal. I got a call from Debbie Dingle. I haven't got a call from Jerry Clayton. So that's his employee. I'm sorry, no, I do not feel safe, no.
Any other comments?
Well, I think it raises concerns. I don't know if it can be this or maybe it's this and. So I know that we've been to neighborhood watches where there are people who've expressed gratitude for contacting the organization and requesting that they come help. So in that case, the resident, they chose to have that help and that support. The concern I would have is like, if there's a patrol and everything isn't understood about what's happening, there are liability issues that arise, and I don't think we've been told, like, how does that work? How does the insurance work? How does it get covered? And so, and most frequently we hear from neighborhoods they want to know. They want to know who's there. They want to know what's happening. And so not to identify neighborhoods is also concerning because people don't have the ability to make those decisions. So on the one hand, I think if there's access that happens and it's mutually agreed upon with the family, that makes sense to me. But roving patrols is concerning because you don't know What's the vetting process for it? And I think people have a right to at least know those types of things, like when are they patrolling? What are they looking for? What authority do they have if they find something? I mean, all of that kind of stuff is not, isn't answered. And so for it just to be a blanket approval and for it not to even be, this is something that's going to happen, that's concerning because it's within a jurisdiction that we share responsibility for. So once you see that that's a possibility, our due diligence for residents requires that we have to look at it and we have to understand it and we have to do anything like you would with any other entity when you have people going in for a purpose. And that purpose is contracted by a governmental entity. It's just, that's how things work. So we have to know what the plan is. And then the residents have to know too, because you could have like misunderstandings. You could have, if hopefully the people do know residents, but it could be that they don't. We have a lot of people who are moving in, moving out. So it raises concerns and issues that need to be answered.
Thank you. Any other comment? And from my perspective, and it's probably because of the history, because there was actually people doing patrol and they kind of tackled someone and it was a very potential situation for liability on the township because they thought we knew that they were out doing that. We had no idea and we had to address that. So it's more about, to me, I think residents have a right to know if that's what's going on. And we didn't know, and actually on Monday, yesterday, that was one of the issues that were going to be discussed because Stan Eldridge had brought it up at the previous Monday and asked, and Derek Jackson was going to come and explain it. But we don't, you have to have communication and understanding, and you have to have conversations with people. And that did not happen at all, and I definitely think that residents have a right to know. If there's 4 neighborhoods, which I don't even know if they're in Ypsilanti Township. I don't know because we have no information. And I think absence of information causes issues down the road. So until we have that conversation with Sheriff Clayton and understand, or Derek Jackson, and get more clarity on it, I did call Greg Dill, because Greg Dill is a signature on the contract for the Supreme Felons, and he said he was not aware of them doing that. So because there's been no communication on it or no discussion, Greg Dill wasn't aware of the fact that they were doing that, so, at this time. Yes,
Carissa Collins-Watson.
Can you speak into the microphone? It's voice
Carissa
acting, and you're like me, you're
Collins-Watson.
tall, so it's hard.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Carissa Collins-Watson. I am a resident of the Township of Ypsilanti, 2049 Bomber Ave. I agree with the young man that was up here, and I do think that we should communicate more. And he brought up something that's very valid, because as he was speaking, I was thinking about how, I haven't heard anything. I know how my son was done, even by the police. And I would rather for there to be a team of people that know them than somebody that don't even know them. Matter of fact, half of them don't live in the township anyway, that come through and do what they do to our children. And we know our children better than you do. And I think as a mother, we of women, for real, are nourishers. And we know how to talk and do our children, even so with the police. So to me, we can communicate together. Well, how about us knowing the police and they know us? And then we won't have that issue of liability, because if we know the police and the police know us, then we can have something going. It ain't going to be as y'all and us. That's going to be us.
Together.
And they have children just like we have children. And so I know what can happen when they have no one around. Like even one of my sons, when they threw him on the ground, the first thing he told the other person, don't leave. That means because I know what's finna be done to me if y'all walk away. But since I do know y'all, I trust you. So I think we should allow that. And whoever wouldn't want to allow it, why wouldn't you want to allow our children to be safe? You want yours safe and we want ours. And those are our children. And our children are the kids for today. They're the kids tomorrow. You should want to see them safe. Let us communicate with the officers and the police. Let them meet them. Let them get acquainted. Let them show their love. We already know the other stuff they know how to do. But what they need to know how to do is to love and to care. Because I do believe, like everybody's up there said to believe the Bible, he said, with love and kindness have I drawn thee. And that's what it should be.
Thank you. Any other questions on this agenda item or any comment?
My name's John Hollingsworth. I'm a resident of Ypsilanti Township. I think we need to have a transparency, but also we need to have some intervention. I know in Ann Arbor, they're investigating unarmed intervention in certain areas now. Sheriff Clayton, he's sheriff over all of Washtenaw County, so he has a law enforcement district that supersedes everybody else's. And I think it is important that he does listen to us as well as Ann Arbor, and the fact that they're really investigating unarmed intervention. And it has to do with the mental health crisis, that all incidents that need law enforcement don't require, guerrilla warfare. I think that somewhat the police and sheriff department have a tendency to resist it, and they cite all the things that would make it dangerous. But with the level of death at the hands of police, I think we ought to at least open it to the communities to at least explore. If we're going to have people in the community trying to address crimes in their own neighborhoods, I think we need to, at least with these things surfacing, that we join the efforts of the communities with the people in this room and other agencies that are concerned. I think the more we work on it together, the better we can understand the real problems, because they get down to where people live.
Thank you. I would have to say that Sheriff Clayton has done a lot of, way before a lot of people talked about it, he was doing a lot of community reach in the community with the deputies, with mental health, and we actually have one deputy that has a mental health worker that rides with the deputy and helps intervene in cases that there's a mental health crisis. And I think that Jerry has kind of led the way on that, in that area. And I don't want to take that away from him, or Sheriff Clayton, I should say Sheriff Clayton. And like I said in the work session, I don't know if it's because of COVID, but there has been a lot of lack of communication from the county and from our sheriff department, and we need to start communicating more. So hopefully the Monday police meetings will be reinstated and we can talk about issues like we have in the past, instead of talking about them in a board meeting. Usually we have better understanding, and I really think it's imperative that we have those Monday meetings with our sheriff's department and our lieutenant who's here, that provides a lot of information to the township, and then in exchange we can take that to the community and let them know this is what it sounds like, but this is what really happened based on our conversation with the sheriff's department. Because sometimes crimes are categorized one way, but really it's not really what it seems to be categorized as. So it helps us to have those kind of meetings. Neighborhood Watch is in person now, and people are asking a lot more questions because we are in person. So it's going to cause more and more knowledge to be available to people. And I think transparency is important. And if there is something in the community that's going on, I think people have a right to know. Like, I would want to know, you would want to know. I mean, if they were doing something in the community or in your neighborhood, we have a right to know. So those kind of discussions need to occur, and they have it. So.
What type of training
Sir, if you need to go to a microphone, if you could, please.
Do I need a microphone?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There, and just so, well, the person who types the minutes listens to the tape through the microphone. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. I have no problem getting that.
I can hear you, and I really can't hear too good.
What type of official training has the Supreme Felons had as far as de-escalation, apprehension, anything like that? Because I know that Sheriff Clayton has a company that trains police tactics, deals with mental health issues and things like that outside of his sheriff duties. The Cardinal Group, I believe it is, that's what he does outside of the sheriff's department. A lot of people don't know about that, but that's a company that he's had, I believe, for the last 7-8 years. And he does outside work with the Cardinal Group, teaching other police agencies how to police, de-escalation, mental health crisis and things like that. If you've got some group like the Supreme Felons, interesting name, just every time I hear it, it's interesting. Where are they supreme at? Were they supreme at committing crimes, or are they supreme at preventing crimes? Where does their supremacy come in at? And is Jerry Clayton in line with them? I've seen many Facebook pictures with the Supreme Felons, with him and Derek Jackson, even with the prosecutors. So where has that set them as far as what they know how to do besides being Supreme Felons? I mean, are they Supreme de-escalation, Supreme apprehension? I mean, I'm just looking for something here. Just looking for something. Because, I'm sorry?
No.
Credibility, yeah, that's the thing. So, because when people say that they're uneasy, you know, and I've read all the articles and all that stuff. So at this point, we know about the application, we know about all that stuff, but if they're going to be in the community, where does the Sheriff's Department and Supreme Felons come to the community? And I know he has the My Brother's Keeper. You know, I've mentioned to myself, or my people, why didn't he start a junior police academy? We want to talk about people being in the community, Ypsi, Ann Arbor, because what the Supreme Felon sounds like they're focusing on is Ypsi, but we have Ann Arbor, we have Ypsi, we have Saline, we have Dexter, we have Chelsea, we have Whitmore Lake, we have Milan. If we're talking about the county, is the Supreme Felons, are they protecting the county? Because I think that's what their grant was for, to protect the county. Like when they talked about working in the schools, which they weren't really working in the schools, that was the WISD, and that includes other schools other than Ypsilanti. So just trying to find out where, because when I hear uncomfortable things from different citizens, it's just strange. Maybe there's just a lack of communication of what's being done, what's going to be done. You know, I'm kind of past the whole ARPA thing, because I understand that's a whole different, you know, ball of wax. But as far as the discomfort for citizens, these folks sound like they've been here for a couple decades. And for them to say that they're uneasy with certain people being in their community, you know, I don't know. I mean, is the Sheriff's Department not making you feel comfortable, or does having the Supreme Felons in your community not making you feel comfortable? There's got to be, you know, that's a strange thing. It's like I don't really understand where the discomfort was. And I know WCSO now, and I knew it prior to Jerry, so I understand where that level of discomfort could come in. But just trying to find out where the uneasiness is. Is it with Supreme Felons, or is it with maybe the lack of knowledge of what they know how to do, what they can do? I'm all for second chance people and things like that, but some people maybe shouldn't be in certain positions on that second chance stance. That's all I'm saying.
And, sir, could I have your name, please?
My name is Shannon McFall, and I'm actually not a township resident right now. I live in Pittsfield Township. Okay. So that's why I really wasn't going to say anything. I just want to know because one side of the room is saying one thing, another side of the room is saying another, but they all have just a genuine concern as who's who. And they said the sheriff was supposed to be here tonight, and for some reason he conveniently isn't.
He was invited, right?
Oh, he was invited. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not a problem.
And I heard you really well, so I love that. So we have a motion and some.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Might I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So, supreme felons is obviously a very hot button issue right now, and I see a lot of people feel a lot of ways about them. The only thing I want to say at this point, and we need way more information to know exactly who's who, but beyond that, I believe in second chances, and I don't believe that just a mistake that you made once in your life should, throw you away for your future. You can do wonderful things if you have a second chance. I think of people like Malcolm X, who had a background, who he went to prison, but look what he went and did once he got out. So I believe people can do great things with their lives once they have a second chance to do so. But that being said, the concern I have is the process, and I think that trust is so important needs to be established. And when I read that the county administrator acknowledged that there were stretches and you can say fabrications in their application, that to me does not instill me with a feeling of confidence about the program itself. I want transparency, and I don't want there to be fabrications in any kind of report that's going to, allocate so much funding to them. So right there, we're on shaky ground. That said, much remains to be, discovered still, but I did want to, I do acknowledge that having community involvement in police work is important, especially with so much of what we've had going on in the last several years. So I think that, I went to a school where all the teachers knew your parents. I went to Roberto Clemente, where they brought your report card home. So you didn't cut up because you knew your grades were coming home from the teacher and they knew your parents. So I'm all about the community involvement aspect, but trust needs to be established. And that's what I'm not necessarily feeling at this point. That doesn't mean it can't change, but at this moment, I don't feel it. So I wanted to say that, and also I'd like to, if I could, make a motion for a friendly amendment that we wait until we have a moment to meet with the county administrator and the sheriff's office.
Are you asking for a friendly amendment to the motion to approve the contract and meet with the?
Correct.
You can offer a friendly amendment.
Yeah, I just want to I want to understand, Ryan. So you don't want us to approve the contract until we meet with Jerry?
I'm sorry if I didn't say it clearly, but that's
what you did. I want to make sure I heard what you said. So don't approve the contract until we meet with Jerry.
That's right.
I accept that as a friendly amendment. Stan?
Is it under discussion?
Well, Stan was the second. Oh.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Now it's under discussion. I also agree that there does need a meeting to take place and more information. But what happens? You can answer when,
yes, I'll go ahead.
When I complete it. Thank you. What happens if he never meets? Where do we stand? If he hasn't been coming to meetings last 6 months, whatever, or send a representative to talk about the contract or to answer our questions, and if we are going to amend that motion to say we will not have this meeting, we will not sort of make agreement on this contract to vote tonight until he meets. And I hear you, Commissioner, but what happens if he doesn't meet? Are we going to be in a limbo, or we come back, or what is that going to happen? What's going to happen? That's just good information.
Question. Yeah, that's a good question.
I would offer this to the board, that we move forward with a vote on the police services contract, because that vote or that contract was supposed to be approved by December 31st of 2022. However, in that, I would ask that we include an addendum or an amendment that we respectfully ask the county administrator, the county sheriff, and anybody that they would so like to bring with them to meet with the full-time officials or the board out of courtesy and respect to this board and to the 55,000 plus residents of this community. But I don't think we have a choice not to vote on the contract tonight. But I would echo Trustee Hunter's sentiment that the sheriff's office and the county administrator meet with this board to engage us with that transparency that they use in their letters so often, so that we fully understand what's going on. I think the unknown can lead to a lot of speculation, and speculation can be bad for anybody. So if we can have that meeting and get that clarity and that understanding and that discussion with them, again, not out of disrespect for this board, but for our residents, I think that would be the appropriate direction. I think we have to vote on the contract as one member.
Madam Chair, and that was my understanding, that we would vote on it, and like the board is authorizing us to proceed forward after we meet. But I do I understand the urgency, and I'd be happy to.
If Trustee Hunter would be okay with that, I think I could support that and move forward.
I'm okay with that.
Could we put in a sentence that says that we as a township would have the right to change our mind, just like they did, if something better comes along, once we approve this contract?
That's illegal.
You have a 6-month opt-out provision so long as you give it before the December 31st of any given year. So you can always give notice to opt out if you have a different option or different playbook to go with during this 4-year contract. It's already in there.
So we would have until June 30th to
opt out for the first year, then the following year it would be the same. So there's a 6-month notice.
Okay.
That,
okay.
It'd be good for you. I mean, that 6-month notice is for each of the 4-year contract periods. So in year 3, you had a different alternative, then you'd give your 6 months notice. And so that's in the contract. That's in the master contract.
Okay, because my thought is, if it needs to be done today, or if it has to be done today, we could still get our ball rolling on whatever we're going to do, and or whatever we find. And will it take 6 months to find whatever our analysis is? And by then, within that 6-month period, we come up with a different way to go.
Well, I would just say, I put it this way, you have a 4-year contract and you have opportunities to opt out during that 4 years upon 6 months written notice. So
okay,
I leave it at that. They also have the right to increase the amount by 6 months notice, and you also have the right to reduce the number of PSUs for budgetary reasons. Right now, nobody knows how these millages are going to go, even in the township, in the years ahead. And right now, these are all funded positions only because of the police millages that are approved. But like I said, a $7 million contract in year 1, that's pretty steep. So, but there are protections in there to opt out, but also the right for them to increase, and also a right for you to decrease. Right now, you're paying for 35, but you only have 30 officers for, whatever reasons. Don't know.
Okay. So
6 months.
6 months. Okay.
And regarding the contract, I'm very concerned about the new process for grants and how that millage money is being used. And we have to apply for a grant for $30,000 when our taxpayers voted for this millage increase. So there's a lot of questions, and having a meeting is important, Trustee Hunter, you're right. And to get clarity on that and why all of a sudden, and if it's $30,000 per officer, And what does that save? How much does that save with the county? Because the county actually, out of their general fund, would fund it in the past. So what are they doing with that money that can help other nonprofit agencies and some of the other things going on in the county? There's just a lot of questions. I do want to add, when in our meeting, if you send him a letter, Sheriff Clayton, or email, and Greg Dill, that we want to talk about exactly what those grants and why we have to apply for grants. Because that is a substantial change to how the Sheriff's Department is funded. And it's not only Ypsilanti Township, it's a lot of other communities that do it. So, yes, Monica.
Sorry, my last comment, Monica Ross Williams. Okay, so this contract, I'm assuming, is a contract for 2026, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, got you. Is there, I'm assuming also that items can be added to or struck out of the contract. If it's voted on tonight for the point of police services, which is understandable, police services is needed. My question is, can items be added to or struck out of the contract on behalf of Ypsilanti Township, or do they just accept what has been sent over from the Sheriff's Department? That is the question.
It's not only the Sheriff's Department, the county board approved it too. So
Okay,
let's
and
just
the
make
county
it.
board,
And
yes.
so there is a lot of entities, it's not just Sheriff Clayton.
Okay.
It's a county board of commissioners as well.
So can items be added to or struck out of a contract, or is it just the county board and the sheriff sends over a contract and the township is forced to vote on it, because if they don't get police services? That is the question I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. The biggest issue in every contract, this is a contract amendment to the original contract that we improved in 2013. And the biggest is a cost issue, and how now the county sheriff is requiring us to apply for a grant from the Sheriff's Department for $30,000 to go towards the cost of a deputy. That's never happened before. It was always from the general fund of the Washtenaw County budget. So when we discuss it, we need to get clarity on that. But the contract is the same contract, is just extending it with two things: higher the additional cost and the requirement that we have to apply for a grant.
So it's sorry, Supervisor Stumbaugh, go ahead. Sorry if I interrupt you, but so it's an amendment to the current contract, but within that contract, if I have it correct, if it's not voted on, the county commission and the Sheriff's Department is threatening to pull police services because of an amendment?
I believe I'm not.
Okay.
I believe we're operating on an expired contract, and the sheriff command staff had been asking, when are we going to vote on it? When are we going to vote on it? So the other communities have voted on it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I think we need to let our deputies know, too, that we're voting for this money. Deputies for 35 to contract for services. So there's clarity. We have an agreement. We have to have an agreement. When within 6 months, if we want to change courses, you can do that, but it's going to take much more than 6 months. It took over a year and a half the last time we looked at the cost of the police service unit that's being charged, and can the township have their own? We had looked at a regional, working together with the city of Ypsilanti at that time, and it was years ago. We haven't done it in years to really verify the cost of a police service unit.
All right. Yep, thank you. And for clarity, my no is not for police services. My no is any steps of basically putting in unauthorized individuals inside of the community. I want to make sure that that is clear and on the record.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and support to approve the contract with the understanding that we will have a meeting with the sheriff and administrator.
I want to make sure I have the motion correct. So we have a request, or we have a motion to approve the amendment to the contract with Washtenaw County Sheriff for police services with the term ending December 31st, 2026, with the understanding and authorizing the full-time elected officials to sign the contract and meet with the county administrator and the sheriff. Do I have that correct? Everyone agrees? Great.
I'm sorry, Heather.
Yeah.
You got to make it clear for me. So you're saying you're going to call a meeting with a great deal from Washington County, the sheriff, and who else?
Full-time officials at the police meeting, I guess, or a separate meeting.
In a separate meeting? Yeah, because, I just feel that I, as a commissioner and other commissioners, we just don't want to hold this up because we have an
We're going
obligation.
to approve signing.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have an obligation to the township to have police services. I just think there's some things that need to be clarified.
Right. You're
and
right.
that meeting need to take place.
Yeah.
So it will be with all the officials.
And we will sign the contract.
Yes.
Yes. Is there clarity? All right, we have a motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is a request to approve the proposal from OHM for a conceptual and feasibility study for Packard Street and Hewitt Road in the amount of $9,500 for sidewalk.
So moved.
We have a motion and support. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item is a request to approve the proposal from OHM for the Ridge Road Sidewalk Survey Design and Bidding Services in the amount of $46,500 and is budgeted contingent upon a budget amendment.
So move.
There's a motion support for the Ridge Road Sidewalk Survey Design and Bidding Services. This will also include lighting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 7 is the authorization to have Spartan Distributors repair 5 mowers in the amount of $38,847.70, which is budgeted contingent upon the approval of the budget amendment.
So moved.
Support Peterson.
We have a motion and support. Discussion? We discussed this in the work session at length too. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a request to approve the agreement with Washoe County Road Commission for the installation of 5 new speed humps on Grand Boulevard in the amount of $53,840, which is budgeted contingent upon the approval of a budget amendment.
So move.
We have a motion by Rose, support by Swanson to approve the installation of the 5 speed humps on Grand Boulevard. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is a request to approve the agreement with Washoe County Road Commission for the replacement of 4 speed humps on Sweet Road in the amount of $49,965, which is budgeted contingent upon the approval of the budget amendment.
Support.
Support. So, did you so move it? I'm sorry.
He moved here.
Peterson, Ryan, Hunter.
Motion.
I didn't know.
Motion.
Motion Hunter, support Peterson.
Yes. I didn't know if he so moved it.
Questions or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next agreement is a request to approve the agreement with Washoe County Road Commission for the replacement of 4 speed humps on Rue Willette in the amount of $49,965.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rose, support Eldridge to approve the request. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11 is a request to approve the agreement with Washoe County Road Commission for the replacement of 4 speed humps on Rue Duville in the amount of $49,965.
So move.
Motion Rowe,
Support.
support Eldridge. Discussion? So all of these are on the agenda because the Road Commission is going to be bidding out the traffic calming devices or speed humps. And 3 of them are actual replacements of ones that we did decades ago. And we're going to replace them because they've worn down. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 is request to accept the resignation of Ryan Hunter from the Planning Commission effective immediately.
So moved.
Support.
Motion Eldridge, support Rowe. Since Ryan was appointed to the Township Board, we can't have two Township Board members on the Planning Commission. So Ryan, we have to formally accept his resignation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 13 is a request to accept the resignation of Ryan Hunter from the AAATA Board, effective immediately.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rose, support Eldridge. AAATA Board said that since Ryan is now elected, that he can't serve on this board and that board at the same time. It's a conflict. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 14 is a request to approve the appointment of Monica Ross Williams to the AAATA Board with a term expiring in April of 2024.
So move Peterson.
Support.
By the board.
Motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 15 is a request to approve the reappointment of Larry Doe to the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Board for a term ending in December of 2025.
So moved.
Motion Eldridge, support Swanson. Questions or comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 16 is a request to create a Fund 284 for opioid settlement and to add $19,985 to the revenue line item to this account and to the expenditure line item.
So move.
Support.
Motion Rose, support Eldridge. We received this money from a federal settlement, and originally it was going to be like $4,000, and it's now $19,000. So any expenditures of the funds will come back to this board to be approved, but we had to actually create the line items for the revenue coming in and expenditures going out. So this is good news. It's more than what we expected. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 17 is budget amendment number 1.
I have a motion to amend the 2023 budget. I would move to increase the general fund budget by $228,735 to $12,616,044 and approve the line item changes as outlined, and move to increase the Bike, Sidewalk, Rec, and Roads, or BSR2 fund, by $85,348 to $2,932,222 and approve the line item changes as outlined. So move the budget amendment.
Support Peterson.
There's a motion support to approve the budget amendment. Questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There's no other business. A motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
We have a motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. 8:18 p.m. Thanks, everyone.